3:40 in the Gulf of Aden. The sea is black and restless, wind ripping spray off the waves. A container ship drives through the darkness under hard deck floodlights, every shadow sharp. Then the radar starts to sing. 1 ping, 2, and the screen fills with fast-moving blips. For a heartbeat, it looks like a fishing cluster until the watch zooms in and the picture snaps into shape. Multiple white wakes spread wide, closing fast. On screen, multiple fast contacts. Those wakes stretch longer and brighter as they surge in. You can feel the closing speed in your gut. Small engines screaming, hulls slapping, spray exploding inside the ship's light. On the lead boats, silhouettes rise and fall with the chop. A rope ladder is already coiled, ready to fly. Because a swarm like this does not need to win a fight. It only needs one ladder to bite. One moment where steel meets rope and momentum becomes access. If they get on deck, it stops being a chase. It becomes a control problem. Minutes decide everything. The alarm erupts. Crew sprint to stations, boots hammering steel, faces lit by red emergency lights. Floodlights sweep the water, trying to strip away the pirates' best weapon: confusion. Water cannons prime, pressure building. Razor wire glints along the rails, a jagged line between deck and sea. The helmsman holds a disciplined course and pushes speed, trying to outrun the geometry forming around the hull. Because the swarm is not just chasing, it is shaping the approach. Boats angle to the stern quarter. Others flare wide, hunting a blind spot, searching for a clean lane where a ladder can hook and hold. The circle tightens, not by firepower, but by positioning. One clean run is all they need. And then, under the wind, you hear it. A distant rotor thump. Not a wave, not an engine. A helicopter closing fast. Tonight, we decode how this assault collapses without turning the ocean into a war zone. On screen, detect, track, warn, deny lanes, break the swarm. Why don't crews just shoot first at sea? Why do spotlights and loudspeakers matter more than bullets at 0340? And what does the helicopter do first, before it ever engages, to break a swarm into retreating fragments? Because in the next minutes, the difference between boarding and escape won't be luck. It will be timing, pressure, and control. To understand why a swarm attack at 0340 feels like a nightmare you can't wake up from, you have to see where it happens. Pull the map back, and the Gulf of Aden looks like a conveyor belt. A narrow corridor between the Arabian Peninsula and the Horn of Africa, one of the busiest sea lanes on Earth. Ships don't wander out here. They follow predictable routes, timed schedules, and fixed transit lanes because commerce demands it. And that predictability is the first trap, because a hunter doesn't need to search when the prey is forced to pass through the same door every night. Zoom in on the geometry, and you see the second trap: choke point behavior. The shipping lane compresses traffic, and compression steals options. A container ship can't simply swerve into nowhere without risking collision, running into restricted areas, or losing the lane that keeps it safe from other hazards. It is boxed in by logistics. Now add pre-dawn visibility, and the box gets smaller. Before sunrise, the horizon disappears. The sea and sky become the same dark slab. Small boats vanish into wave troughs, then reappear as white streaks only when they are already close. A skiff can be invisible at 2 miles, then become a wake at 1 mile, and become a ladder at 50 meters. Here, distance is life, and darkness steals distance. That is why pirates prefer the hours before first light. Not because they want a battle, but because they want an advantage in decision time. When the bridge sees an unknown contact in daylight, they can classify it early. At 0340, classification becomes a race. Your radar shows dots. Your eyes see nothing. Your brain wants to believe it's normal traffic, fishing boats, harmless clutter, until the pattern is too sharp to ignore. And once the pattern is clear, you are already behind the clock. Now layer in the pirate playbook. This is not one speedboat gambling on luck. It's a swarm designed to overwhelm decision-making. Multiple skiffs approach from different angles to make the bridge feel surrounded. The noise is part of the weapon. Engines howling, spray exploding under the ship's lights, silhouettes moving, gestures that suggest numbers. Intimidation here is not about winning a firefight. It's about forcing hesitation. While the ship tries to classify who's who, the swarm tries to shorten the timeline until there's only one choice left: react. Their objective is simple and clinical. Get close enough for a ladder attempt. Pressure the ship toward a mistake. If they can reach the deck, even briefly, they gain leverage. Not because they can take a massive container ship with raw force, but because leverage at sea is about control. Controlling movement, controlling access, controlling the crew's sense of safety. The bridge is the brain. Pressure the brain, and the entire vessel becomes vulnerable. And that's why they come in from multiple bearings. One group distracts, one group tests the rail, another group hunts the blind arc where a ladder has the best chance to hook. So why is a container ship vulnerable? Because it is huge, and huge ships are slow to change their mind. They can't snap turn like a patrol craft. Their turning radius is measured in long, deliberate arcs, especially at speed. Blind arcs exist along the hull where small boats can hide in shadow and spray. At night, watch teams are smaller, fatigue is real, and every extra second spent confirming a contact is a second the swarm uses to close. One wrong decision compounds fast. A turn that bleeds speed, a spotlight sweep that misses the lead skiff, a delayed alarm that costs the crew their best defensive posture. And here's the part most people misunderstand. When naval forces show up, they don't always arrive firing. There are rules of engagement, ROE, and there is reality. Warships and patrol aircraft operate under layered decision-making. Identify first, warn if possible, demonstrate presence, deny the attack's best options, and only then escalate if the threat forces it. Why? Because the mission isn't maximum firepower. The mission is to end the threat without creating a bigger disaster on the water. In a crowded lane, at night, with civilians and shipping nearby, one careless escalation can become its own headline. Myth versus fact. Quick credibility check. Myth. Pirates win by fighting the Navy head-on. Fact. Pirates win by turning a fast approach into leverage before help arrives. Myth. The best defense is shooting it out. Fact. The best defense is preventing boarding, keeping distance, and breaking coordination, because a swarm lives and dies by timing. If the boats can't stay together, can't keep pressure, can't get a clean ladder run, the whole assault collapses into scattered engines and wasted fuel. That's why the first steps often look almost boring on paper. Track, warn, illuminate, deny lanes. But in the pre-dawn Gulf of Aden, those boring steps are the difference between a near miss and a crisis. They buy seconds. They preserve control. They keep the ship's options alive long enough for the decisive factor to arrive. Airborne presence that can see the whole geometry at once. And that brings us back to the clock. Because at 0340, It stops being unknown contacts. It becomes a coordinated assault run. Multiple boats, multiple angles, a closing speed measured in seconds. The only question now is whether the crew can hold discipline long enough for the sky to take control of the lanes. 3:40. The bridge is running on night discipline. Dim red lighting, quiet voices, eyes trained on instruments that matter more than the horizon. The radar operator leans in and calls it out without drama, because drama wastes seconds. One contact, then two, then a bloom of fast returns, scattered like a handful of nails thrown across the sea. At first glance, it could be clutter, small craft, wave tops, fishing traffic. But the speed readouts don't match. The vectors don't drift. They converge. The watch officer cross-checks the picture with electro-optical sensors. The camera searches the black water, zooming into nothing, then catching it. A razor-thin white line, then another, then multiple lines, brighter than the sea around them. Wakes. Fast wakes. And the wakes are not random. They are arranged, spaced out, angled, shaping a closing net. On-screen timeline. 3:40, contact. 3:42, multiple tracks. Track labels appear one by one on the display. Unknown, unknown, unknown. Then a faster designation, the kind that makes everyone straighten without saying it. Multiple fast contacts. Closing. The bridge voice changes from observational to procedural. Mark bearing. Confirm speed. Maintain course. Report to master. Short, clean calls. The ship doesn't panic. It transitions. And the moment it transitions, everyone on board feels what that means. You are no longer watching the night. You are inside it. The container ship tries to buy distance with speed, but the sea lane and the ship's mass make speed a blunt tool. Out there, the swarm is already drawing the math. Some boats take the stern, staying in the ship's wake where the ship's own turbulence can hide them. Others arc wide along the flanks, searching for a lane where the ship can't bring water cannons to bear at the right angle. It's a box, built out of timing and approach lines. The goal is not to win a fight. The goal is to create one clean moment where the ship can't deny the rail. Because they don't need to sink the ship. Just get one ladder to catch. That's the terrifying elegance of it. A container ship is steel and momentum, but momentum doesn't stop rope. Rope only needs friction. One hook over the rail, one ladder that holds for 3 seconds, and suddenly the distance problem disappears. The swarm becomes bodies on deck. The chase becomes a leverage crisis. That's why the formation matters. A swarm attack lives on coordination, and coordination is what they're trying to protect while they rush the hull. On the ship, defenses snap into place like a checklist that's been rehearsed 100 times. The alarm goes, not just a siren, an entire vessel changing posture. Floodlights sweep outward, carving the sea into harsh, readable sections. Water cannons come online with a rising mechanical whine, then a heavy, pressurized roar. Crew seal access points, locking doors, dogging hatches, reducing the number of places a boarder could slip through. The bridge calls down to engineering, hold speed, keep the screws biting, no unnecessary maneuvers that bleed momentum. Lookouts shift positions to cover blind arcs. The ship's internal rhythm tightens into something like combat breathing. Steady, controlled, survival-focused. You can feel the soundscape changing. Wind and water, yes, but now layered with the crisp staccato of shipboard calls, the metallic clank of securing gear, the low thunder of engines pushed just a little harder. The radios spit short phrases, no speeches, only actions. And somewhere below deck, someone checks the Citadel plan, the last fallback if the rail fails, because the ship is preparing for the worst while fighting to prevent it. Then the escalation ladder begins, and it starts the way maritime reality usually starts, with identification and warning. The bridge transmits on VHF, a firm, standardized message into the dark. A ship's horn blasts, long and violent, meant to be heard over engines and waves. Searchlights sweep across the water again and again, refusing to let the skiffs hide in shadow. The message is clear without being cinematic. You are seen, you are tracked, you are not welcome here. But the skiffs keep closing. Now intent becomes undeniable. The wakes are too straight, the approach too disciplined, the angles too aggressive. The ship's water cannons throw hard arcs of spray into the lanes the skiffs want most, smashing the sea surface with white explosions, creating walls of turbulence that make ladder work harder. If there are warning impacts, they stay where they belong, on water, not on people, because the goal is denial, not destruction. Deny the rail, deny the ladder, deny the clean approach. Break the geometry before it reaches the hull. And then, under everything, you hear the new sound again. Faint at first, then rising fast. Rotor thump. Not imagination, not thunder. A helicopter approaching at speed, using the same darkness that helped the swarm, now flipped into cover for the response. The bridge doesn't celebrate, it measures. Because a helicopter doesn't magically end an attack. It changes the chessboard, if it arrives in time. The first blade noise rolls over the sea, deeper and more certain. A searchlight cuts through mist like a blade, sweeping once, then locking onto the lead skiff. In that beam, the swarm's illusion breaks. Boats that felt invisible suddenly look small, exposed, isolated, separated by light itself. The helicopter doesn't need to fire to start winning. It needs to take away the pirate's best advantage, confusion, and the confidence that comes from it. The container ship was buying time with speed, discipline, and denial. Now, time buys help. And in the next minutes, the story stops being ship versus skiffs and becomes geometry versus air power. The helicopter arrives like a verdict. Not a distant sound anymore. Now it's right on top of the water, blades chopping the mist into shredded streaks. The Seahawk drops low, fast and deliberate, using speed and altitude the way a destroyer uses steel. The searchlight snaps on and pins the lead skiff so hard it looks nailed to the sea. In that beam, every trick the night was giving the pirates disappears. The skiff is no longer a silhouette in darkness. It's a small craft, exposed, measurable, trackable. A loudspeaker cracks through the wind, clear, repeated warnings, calm but absolute. On-screen text mirrors it in English. Stop your approach. Turn away. You are being tracked. The helicopter doesn't need to fire to dominate the moment. It only needs to remove uncertainty. And it does that with two things the swarm can't fight: visibility and authority. Light is control. Noise is control. That's the show of force. And it's not just intimidation. It's a tactical reset. The pirates were counting on confusion, on the ship hesitating, on the crew being forced into a defensive crouch. The helicopter flips that equation. Now the pirates are the ones reacting, the ones being herded, the ones who have to decide whether to keep closing under a spotlight that follows them like fate. And here's the core of the operation, the part most people miss when they imagine a helicopter chasing boats. The helo doesn't chase first. It blocks. It takes the lanes. It slides laterally, positioning itself between the container ship and the tightest cluster of skiffs, not directly above them, but slightly forward, exactly where it can deny the best ladder angles. It's geometry. The pirates want a clean approach on the hull where the ship's water cannons can't reach cleanly, and the ship's blind arcs are strongest. The helicopter chooses the opposite. It occupies the clean lane and forces the skiffs to turn away, to widen, to lose their line. Rotor wash slams the sea into tall white spray columns, throwing turbulence into the path the skiffs wanted most. The skiffs don't have to be hit, they just have to be disrupted. A ladder attempt is precision work, and precision dies in chaos. The moment a boat has to bounce through rotor-churned water while a searchlight tracks it, the ladder run becomes a gamble. The moment one skiff turns away, the formation loses its rhythm. The moment the rhythm breaks, the swarm starts to collapse. That's why swarm attacks are fragile. They look overwhelming, but they depend on coordination. Multiple boats arriving at the same time from multiple angles, so the ship can't deny all lanes at once. If the pack can't stay tight, it stops being a swarm. It becomes a handful of small boats making individual decisions under pressure. And individual boats don't have the same psychological weight. They hesitate. They peel off. They save fuel. They look for an exit. So the helicopter keeps doing the same ruthless thing. Deny the lane, force the turn, break the timing. Now the decision chain runs like a loop. Identify, warn, demonstrate presence, deny approach routes, repeat. Identify. The helo's camera tracks each skiff, highlighting movement, speed, and direction. Warn. Loudspeaker, repeated, steady. No screaming, no theatrics, just certainty. Demonstrate presence. A low pass that makes the sea erupt. A spotlight that refuses to blink. A hover that says, "You cannot sneak." Deny. The aircraft parks itself in the geometry the pirates need most, turning the best ladder run into the worst possible lane. And underneath all of that is the real weapon: time pressure. Every second the helicopter stays overhead, the pirates burn fuel, burn options, and burn confidence. They can't hold the approach forever. They can't keep a formation tight while being illuminated, herded, and churned by rotor wash. The longer the loop repeats, the more the swarm becomes a set of isolated boats, each one wondering if it's about to be the last one caught in the light. Then the retreat begins exactly the way swarms die. One boat breaks first. The lead skiff veers hard, throwing a fresh white arc across the water as it turns away from the beam. Another hesitates, slows for half a second, then follows, because hesitation at sea is contagious. Two more boats drift wide, no longer sure they have numbers, no longer sure the ship is alone, no longer sure the ladder run is worth the risk. The pack loses its center. The attack run becomes a loose scatter, engines screaming as they choose escape over commitment. Under the spotlight, they stop looking like a force. They start looking like individuals. The container ship holds course and speed, disciplined, not tempted into a reckless turn. Water cannons keep washing the lanes near the hull. Floodlights stay wide. The bridge keeps the radio traffic clean. Short confirmations, no panic. And on the radar, the story becomes visible. Contacts widening, vectors bending away, the tight converging lines turning into a fan of retreat. The helicopter stays overhead long enough to confirm what matters. It doesn't leave at the first sign of retreat. It watches. It tracks. It makes sure the retreat isn't a reset for a second run. The beam sweeps, locks, releases, locks again, like a metronome that forces the sea back into order. Then the bridge gets the call it's been waiting for. The contacts are opening range. The ship reports clear. The immediate danger, the ladder moment, the control moment, has passed. On radar, the dots grow smaller. On the water, the wakes thin and fade. The ocean is still dark, but the geometry is gone. And in that absence, you understand what just happened. Not a battle, a denial. Not a victory by destruction, a victory by control. No boarding, no hostages. The swarm broke. When the last wakes fade into the dark and the radar picture relaxes, it's tempting to treat it like a clean win. Pirates repelled, ship safe, story over. But the real value of an incident like this isn't the adrenaline. It's the repeatable logic, the parts you can apply to the next night, the next lane, the next swarm that thinks it can steal a moment and turn it into leverage. So here are the 3 decoded lessons, simple, ruthless, and proven by how fast everything changed. Lesson 1. Early detection beats firefights. The decisive advantage was not a weapon, it was time. The bridge saw the pattern early enough to shift the ship's posture before the skiffs reached the rail. They labeled tracks, called it out, and moved from unknown contacts to coordinated approach without denial or delay. The difference between a scare and a crisis is often 1 minute of warning. In maritime security, the best fight is the one you never have to take because you saw it coming while you still had options. Lesson 2. Break geometry, break coordination. A swarm feels unstoppable because it multiplies pressure, multiple angles, multiple threats, multiple decisions at once. But swarms don't survive on courage. They survive on synchronization. The moment the formation is forced to widen, the moment boats can't arrive together, the moment the ladder run loses its clean lane, the assault collapses. That's why the helicopter didn't win by chasing. It won by taking the lanes, denying the approach geometry the pirates needed, and turning a coordinated pack into scattered individuals. Lesson 3. Non-lethal dominance ends fights faster. The most powerful tools in this incident were light, voice, and presence. A spotlight that removes darkness, a loudspeaker that removes ambiguity, a low pass that removes confidence. It's control without chaos. It's dominance without turning the sea into a war zone. And it works because piracy depends on leverage. If the pirates can't board, can't control, can't force the ship into a trapped position, they lose the only currency they came for. Now, shipside best practices, the boring checklist that saves lives when the night turns sharp. Speed matters, but discipline matters more. Push speed early, not late. Don't bleed momentum with panicked maneuvers. Light the deck hard and wide so small craft can't hide in shadow. Bring water cannons online early and use them to deny lanes, not to win something. Seal access points fast. Doors, hatches, ladders, anything that turns one clean mistake into a chain reaction. Keep the Citadel plan ready as a last resort, not because you expect to use it, but because the confidence of a fallback keeps the crew organized. And keep communications short. When the adrenaline spikes, long sentences are the enemy. Short comms preserve clarity, and clarity preserves time. Why does this matter beyond one night? Because piracy is not about battles. It's about leverage. A pirate swarm is a business model built on speed, intimidation, and the hope that help is too far away. The fastest way to deny that business model is airborne overwatch, because a helicopter sees the entire geometry at once and can impose control instantly. It turns distance back into safety. It turns darkness into exposure. It turns a swarm
Sector 4 is clear.
into a
Target
retreat.
acquired status confirmed. Returning to
And
base.
now, the next question. The one this episode leaves hanging on purpose. What happens when pirates pick a target that looks alone, but isn't? A ship that appears civilian, quiet, unprotected, until the trap closes and the response is already in position. If you want more real-world maritime encounters broken down step by step, radar to decision to outcome, hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments what you want decoded next. Swarms, tankers, destroyer escorts, or helicopter tactics. Target acquired.
All units,
Subscribe
maintain current bearing.
engaged.
We are shadowing the contacts now. Over. Debrief sequence initiated. Confirm all systems green. Confirmed. Incident is closed.